Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be sharing with you how to cut this stylish dress or stylish blazer dress with collar. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. So to start, here is my pattern paper and I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements I need for this pattern. So first I marked out about 4 inches on top before going ahead to mark my shoulder to bust, under bust and waistline. So for the front part I have about 5 to 6 inches in front for the collar area. So now I went ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2 plus half, and I'll come down by 1 inch. The reason why I added half inch to my shoulder is because this pattern has a sleeve. Now I'm going to go ahead to place my tape to find my chest line. And to find my chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So mine is 7 inches. I made a dot at that point and I'm drawing out a straight line. Next, you want to go ahead and mark what you have on the shoulder, and you're going to connect it by drawing a straight line at this point. Now this point at the armhole, you're going to divide it by 2 and mark. Come in by ½ inch at that point. Here you're going to mark your bust circumference divided by 4 and go ahead to place your curve drew, and you're going to connect to that ½ inch and also connect to the upper part. After you're done cutting this out, go ahead to outline your pattern. So after this, I'm going to insert my body measurement. So I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Here I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. So there's no dart at the upper part of this dress, except it has like a bust dart which was blended out on the pattern. So next, I'll go ahead and mark out a basic neckline at this part, which will serve as a guide for my pattern. I'll mark 3 inches by 3 inches at this point, and I'll go ahead to connect. So after going ahead to connect this, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to draw out or come out about 1 inch at this point. Now I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to connect from here to this point. So you might be wondering why I'm connecting it to this point. So on this particular pattern, the upper part of the dress is actually joined together. It is joined separately, then the collar is now attached to the dress. So now that is why we're connecting it at that point. So I'll just go ahead and use my marker to blend this out. So after this, I'll go ahead to draw out the excess line I have at the lower part and cut it out. So next step, I'll go ahead to extend my back neckline to the front. So for my back neckline, I'll be using a total of 3 by 1 inch, and when you're working with a 3 by 1 inch neckline, the basic measurement round it is 3.5, which I extended up at the upper part of my pattern. And also I went out by ½ inch after marking my collar. So next, I'll just measure what you need or what I'll need for the length of the collar. So I'll be using 3 inches here. So from this point, I'll go ahead to extend it out. So you notice that the collar, while going down towards the lower part, is a lot bigger. So for this, at least you need up to 5 to 6 inches for the front part of this pattern. So from the lower part, I'll go ahead to connect this way, extending it up, and then I'll take this down towards this part. So one side of the collar is smaller and the other side is bigger. So I'll add extra pattern paper to make one side of this collar bigger than the other part. So after this, I'll go ahead to cut this out. So I'll just go ahead and cut out the unwanted parts that I don't need in this pattern. So now for this collar of this dress, for the facing of the dress, another color of fabric was used on it. So now on one side, you also notice that one collar is a lot bigger. Now you're going to just trim out and add to this side of your collar and use your gum to hold it down. So this is what I did at this point, and then you can readjust your collar if you're not okay with what you have. So this is what the main pattern or the dress will be looking like. So now for the facing of this collar, you're going to go ahead to cut this out, and you're going to use it to cut the facing. So for the facing of this dress, you're going to use another different material, just like we have on the thumbnail. The facing of this dress, by the time you turn it, it will now be the collar on top of the dress. So a white fabric was used on it. So to cut out that part, you go ahead to cut out your collar, and that is where you'll be using to cut what you'll be using to cut out the facing. So next you'll be cutting out your skirt. So you're going to place your tape at minus your waistline. That is where your waistline started to mark the full length of your dress. So after that, you mark 7 inches for your hip, and after marking that 7 inches, go ahead to label your pattern. Now you're going to go ahead to mark your waist circumference divided by 4, and go ahead to add your sewing allowance. After this, you're going to go ahead to also mark your hip circumference and add your sewing allowance. So whatever you have on your waist, sorry, on your hip, you're going to come in by 1 inch at the lower part of your pattern, and you're going to connect. Now after you're done connecting this way, you're going to go ahead to cut this out, and you're also going to use this pattern to cut out the back part of your skirt. This is the front side, right? Now to cut the back part, all you do is to add a zipper allowance in front of your pattern. So after doing this, you now open this your pattern. That is, after cutting the back, you now open your front pattern, because you want to alter it to get the design for the front. So from this center point now, I'm going to extend this towards the other side. So from the midpoint, I'll come out by 2 inches, connect, and now go ahead to draw like a little curve extending to the lower part of my pattern. So now from this point, I'll extend about 0.5 inches or 0.3 inches at the lower part. Now I'll go in with my marker, and I'm going to go ahead to outline this. Now this is that slit we have at the lower part, and this is the button. So what you're going to do now is you're going to cut this into two. Now when you're rejoining this pattern, you're going to at least add ½ inch on this pattern. That is, after you're done turning it, you're now going to place it on each other and top stitch on it. That is the upper part of this pattern. Now you're going to add either ½ inch or 1 inch to it, so that you're going to turn it and then place it on top of each other, and then you're going to top stitch it this way. Then you're going to have that effect, that slit effect at the lower part. So now we're moving over to the back pattern of this dress, where I've marked out all my basic measurements. Here is the bust, and here is the under bust, and here is my waist. Now I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2 plus half, and I'll come down by 1 inch, and after marking that, I'll go ahead to place my ruler and connect. Now I'll be marking my chest line also for this pattern, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to mark out. After I'm done marking now, I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder measurement plus half again at the chest line and connect. Now I'm going to divide what I have here into 2, and I'll mark. Now I'll come in by half. Go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 here. Place my curve through, and I'll go ahead to connect this to the upper part. After I'm done connecting this at this point, I'll go ahead to outline. I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 here, and I'll also add my sewing allowance, mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, and add my sewing allowance. So when I was recording, I didn't realize my video stopped, so I added my waist measurement divided by 4 and my sewing allowance. So So now to add your dart, you're going to mark it immediately after the zipper line. So let me fold this in. For your dart, you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2, mark a straight line. Then you're going to mark ½ inch at both sides of your pattern and then come down by 1 inch at your bust. Go ahead to connect it. So this is how I marked my dart intake, and whatever that you took out here, you're going to replace it to the side of your pattern and you're going to connect. So for the neckline of this dress, I used 3 by 1 inch, just like I said at the beginning. So if you have any question regarding this pattern illustration, please go ahead and leave a question at the comment section.